Welcome. I'm Terry McGill. I'm in Portland, Oregon, and this is the Who's Your Neighbor show. We really don't know our neighbors. In fact, the busier we get, and not everybody. I know some just people that I really envy their ability to connect with people, and they don't make themselves busy like I do, and they're more connected. But I wanted to do something about it. And the idea was given to me for this show. Took about 3 months for this name to come into the form that it is now. But the idea was, what can we do about connection, inclusion? Because of COVID, I have learned so much more about privilege, about color, and it's racism is just a little term that I've learned there's so much depth in that. But it's much more than that. In the Portland metropolitan community, there's around 2 million people. And I didn't realize how many I knew that are just little known treasures. In China, they have a institutionalized way. Maybe the government does it, I don't know. But there are people who are the top in their profession. They can be a painter, they can be probably a horseshoer. I'm serious. Martial arts, you name it. The top ones are called a national treasure, and they get certificates. And their artwork, if they're an artist, is worth like millions of US dollars. So we have people like that in Portland, but we don't know them. The quiet people don't get noticed. So I want to interview you. I want to interview tonight. I want to introduce you to another one of those quiet people, Arehn McCarty. Arehn, hello and welcome.
Hi, thanks, Terry.
I'm just so happy to see you and your smile. Yeah.
I'm really glad to be here.
So there's several questions that have come up for me. Now, you were a Waldorf School teacher, and for listeners, these are called Steiner schools around the world. In the United States, they're called Waldorf schools. The amazing thing to me was that I just blanked out on the name of it, but there's this really high. There are more Waldorf students who get this classification than any other type of school. So as a Waldorf schools teacher, what drew you to want to teach in that school? What does it do? What drew you?
I think for me, it was really a spiritual base. So I was already an ordained minister of New Thought. And the Steiner schools have a spiritual base. Every morning, the students recite a verse about being grateful for the beauty in the world, and yeah, I felt really a connection. It's all about artistic expression. I really do believe that the divine works through creative expression. Like, how am I expressing in the world? And so to assist these children in learning that they are artists at such an early age, giving them permission to explore who they are and to have hands-on experience with learning that way.
So you're also a spatial dynamics teacher. Was that through the Waldorf School?
That is also, it's a movement teacher training. There's a therapy aspect to it as well, but it's really about the body mind connection, this idea of using spirit to draw us into things. So one of the exercises we do is look at the difference between force, like when I'm trying to make something happen, and the draw. So if I'm shooting an arrow or throwing a javelin, if I'm drawn by the movement of where I want it to go, my body just follows.
So tell me about your website. What's the name of it? Soul Print
Soul
Journey.
Print Journeys, yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So listeners, we're going to park this soulprintjourneys.com, I believe. I've got a piece of paper blocking it.
Yes.
So we're going to park that over in the chat room, so it'll be there forever. Whoever views it in the future, it'll be there. But what's this about? How does Waldorf School, spirit, spatial dynamics, how does that relate to soul print?
Right. So it's really interesting because what I do now is I'm a spiritual life coach. So I actually help adults kind of discover that creative self in them. So your soul print is how you uniquely make your imprint on the world. So we are, as individuals, there's never been another you in the world ever, and there never will be, with your, not only your talents and your um, skills and interests, but also your experience. So the experiences that we have in life, even the ones that we don't necessarily wish we had experienced, make you who you are right now. And so, I really do believe that there's been a divine process in that. And so your soul print, is using that, how you are unique and how you can manifest that uniqueness. Why were you born as you, when you were born, and where you were born, with whose parents? How does that, how can you benefit the world? How can you give that gift back to the world? So that's the journey too.
So did your children go to Waldorf School?
Both of my boys went through Waldorf School through 8th grade. Yeah.
And then after that, um, you begin to wonder and wander. I read about your journey, your year, the gap year.
Oh, yes, yes. We took a midlife gap year. We took our youngest to college, and we were going to be empty nesters. And I have been a very active and involved parent, and I was dreading not having children and that purpose in my life. And so we bought a trailer, a big teardrop trailer, and rented out our house, and we hit the road for a school year. And we really like to camp way out in forest land. So we didn't camp much in campgrounds. It was way out. We'd see people maybe once a week.
Wow.
And it was just wonderful. I love being out in the woods or in the desert. We were in the desert sometimes, and yeah, it was really spectacular. And it was great for my husband and I. Have been married 28 years, and it was really nice to have that, just us time in this 125 square feet. We lived and worked virtually, online. We had to have internet, and it was just wonderful. Yeah, it's been really great. And we ended when COVID hit, and our children came back home, and so we've been back in Westland, which is where we live since then.
Interesting.
Yeah.
So I've got this feeling about you that doesn't all hold together. What is it that has drawn you to be the life coach?
Hmm. So when I was in my 20s, early 20s, I did a meditation weekend where we were really looking at what our soul purpose was. What is our,
Oh,
why am I here? And
Yeah.
I had an auditory experience where I heard to inspire the love of God in people. Like that's what I'm doing in my life. And it fit great in the ministry. It fit great as a Waldorf teacher and a Waldorf movement teacher to teach them, the joy of movement. And then as a life coach, as a now a new empty nester, I'm realizing that it's very common, especially with women who've spent a lot of time raising children, that that's been their all, what gives them purpose, what gives them a sense of, why I'm here. And
Right.
then we get to this age and we're like, well, now what? And so I get to help women rediscover themselves, what gives them passion, and what that next phase is. We live so much longer and so much more vibrantly healthy in much later years that 55 used to be that's when you retire, and now it's nothing. You can go into your 80s if you want to. So we have a lot of time, but so we don't want to just give that up. We want to what's next. So that's what I get to do. And it does, for me, it flows very easily with, this is how I can inspire that love of the creative energy that made this universe moving through us. The
So
love for
for our listeners and watchers, our viewers, um, what I would invite you to do is go to Arehn's soulprintjourneys.com website. I'm reading it over there in the chat room. I've gone back to different pages and different parts. It's like interesting. So seriously, if you've been wondering, what is it that feels like, or if you just don't know if something's missing, but you don't know something's right, my experience is they can get great information, perspective, and options just by reading through. You've got a great website.
Thanks.
And if you want to send Arehn an email, or if you want her newsletter, scroll down to the bottom of one of the pages. It's right there. Just type it in. Well, you have to use your computer, don't but, yeah.
I
So
also, just to, if since we're plugging things,
yeah,
I do a Tuesday video every day. Every week I do a less than 5-minute video that's some kind of inspirational story and a thought that can help us through the week to do this thing that we call life. And that's at the on my Facebook page, which
great.
will be
Um,
posted, I hope,
and
soon.
I believe that Karam can put up, or our producer can put up your Facebook page also.
Right.
And for your friends and clients and family, all of your tribe, in the future, Arehn, you can send them either to the Facebook site, or we're also we've got these stored.
There it is.
There's a Facebook site. Yeah, you saw it too. Yeah, we have a YouTube site too, and they can explore these. Go to Facebook, and they'll see your around 5 minutes every day. You do this
Tuesdays, every Tuesday.
Tuesday, once a week. I
Once
was
a week.
going to say, boy, every day.
Yeah, that
That
would be a lot. Yeah.
it's like, what do I mean, I've done this 3 days in a week now, and this is the 4th day. Have to do some spatial dynamics to open up your channel.
Right, right.
Yeah. So if someone comes to you, what is that? What would be the first step in working with you?
Yeah, so I have ongoing workshops that are free. They're an hour online, live, and I have one coming up in the middle of January, but I don't have it on my website yet. So if you go to the website, you can find links to it
Later on.
there. Yeah, and soon in January as well, I have a 4-part video series. So if you rather um, do the same workshop. It's 2 hours because we get into it a little bit deeper, but that's a pre-recorded thing that you can download and watch. That's also free. So that
Oh,
would be
that's great. Then they don't have to be there at a specific time.
right, right. It makes it easier, but sometimes it's
Uh-huh.
nice to have that live thing too, I think.
It
So
is,
whatever how
yes.
it works for you, both
I just I
options can
just
be available.
I just love having the option.
Yeah.
Like, if it's 4 weeks and, I can do 3 but not 4, I might not sign up, but, "Oh, no, wait, there's a recording.
Yeah,
Good."
yeah.
Yeah. So, the spatial dynamics part of it, would you say more about that? I'm just fascinated by that concept.
Yeah. So, I'm not sure what do I wanna share about that? Hmm.
Well, what would, my son went to the Portland
Mhm.
Waldorf School also for his first 8 years, and,
Yeah.
um, and absolutely rebelled against being there any longer. He wanted to go to a regular school. Okay. Um,
I'm sure
so
he looks back and realizes the benefit now.
he now will say things every once in a while, "Well, yeah, that's because."
Yeah,
So
definitely.
so in those first 8 years, did you work with high school or kindergarten through
I
8th
worked
grade?
with the lower grades.
The
Yeah,
well,
so up to 6th grade is what I did. Yeah.
so what would the upper grade what would an exercise be? How would
So there
I'd like
there's a whole series of movement things that are almost like Tai Chi. They work with streams of the body and the way your body moves, and they're directed by grade. Like this is an exercise that's good for this age, and what that age is going through, which is the whole Waldorf system is all based on where the child is developmentally and really trying to meet them. So there's a whole evolution of things. So just in the physical, like in the big scheme, in 5th grade, we start with the Olympiad, which is they study ancient Greece, and we do a pentathlon, the running, wrestling, jumping, discus, and javelin. And they in Oregon, and they do this all over the world, but we bring all of the Waldorf schools from Oregon together, and we mix them up, and they spend 3 days in their new city state with a teacher and a parent, and they train and they work together, and then they compete as their city state. And
so when you say you mix them up, you take children from different schools and put them into one city-state?
they spend the night and they eat all their meals with this one teacher, that may or may not be their teacher. So more sensitive students might actually be assigned to actually be with their teacher, but otherwise they're meeting new friends. And then sixth grade, they come back for the medieval games, and we have archery and wrestling and different things that we do that are more have sort of a medieval kind of feel to them. And again, they get mixed into shires and it's a day event. It's gone back and forth, but most of the time it's been a 1 day event, uh, where they spend the day with their new friends. And then 7th and 8th grade, they have a track meet, which is really where the first actual competition comes in play. Like they will at the Olympiad, they will throw the javelin and everybody watches, but they're not like judged. There isn't a winner for javelin.
Right.
Where in 7th and 8th grade, yes, there is a winner. They're old enough to really hold that competition and help it to strive as opposed to feeling bad about themselves. They can shift it to I'm going to try to do my best.
So that's a developmental thing.
Yeah.
When you're working with parents whose children have grown and gone, how does this I'm feeling this awareness that I can't put into words that, do you help them work through another iteration of who they are?
Definitely. Yes. Yeah. I mean, I think that especially women who really put, that's their identity. I'm so and so's mother. And that's often how they would introduce themselves, because usually their social circle is based on their children's
On the kids,
circle.
right?
Yeah. And so, who am I? I definitely had to search that. Who is Arehn, and what am I supposed to be doing in the world? And um, sometimes it's going back to what you thought you'd love long ago, and sometimes at really even more often it's not. It's just, what is this next evolution? What would I love? I mean, that's a question that I ask that can have really profound effect, even though it's such a simple question. But if you sit with it and let yourself really feel, without the voice saying, oh, I can't, that's not going to work. Oh, that can't happen. But really putting aside all of the how can this happen, but really just opening to, what would I love? And when we do that, and when we start really visualizing that, that's another big part of what I do, is help people to see themselves in that life, being that person, feeling the joy and feeling the competence and the love or the security or whatever it is that they're wanting in their lives, but to feel it before they're actually physically experiencing it. And then that's where that spatial dynamics thing comes in. They're feeling drawn by this vision into this new life. And what happens is things come from all over the place to support that direction that you would never know. That, you get, I really wanted to sign up with a coach a year ago, and it was $5,000. And I thought, oh, $5,000, do I have, is that really? And I really felt like this was the right thing. And I signed up, and then immediately we got this $5,000 that we were totally not expecting, just came in, and it was exactly the same amount of money. And I see this happening all the time. So that's the big thing, is to really have that vision that you can put yourself emotionally into, and then you're just drawn to that life. I mean, I believe that it's already it's created in the spiritual world at that time, and that we just, we get to watch and take steps to make it manifest in the physical world.
I have some friends, trying to remember how they would phrase that, but um, you're in their perspective, I think they would call you an enlightenment journey coach,
Huh. I'll accept that.
because
Thank you.
in that perspective, enlightenment is bringing out the latent potential within us.
Mhm.
And what's enlightenment? It's increasing the light. So if we bring out something, okay, it's Christmas season. It's the season of lights, because there's so many different traditions that use lights.
I'll have that.
So if you bring out the lights, I started to say Christmas lights. For us, they have been for 29 years or more. So when you bring those out and untangle them, and string them up, plug them in, then that's one kind of enlightenment. That's a mechanical, electrical, visual effect.
Mhm.
But we all have potential within us, and that's what I was reaching for. And you just put it together for me. It's like you help them to envision it, to see themselves before they step onto a stage, for example.
Mhm.
And then when they do it, it's like, I've been there,
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
and they shine.
Trying to lose weight. I had gained a lot of weight since I stopped teaching PE, and then with COVID, and I had felt it. I was kind of complaining. I just, it was like, oh gosh, I got to do something, but I didn't change anything. And then I made a decision one day, okay, I'm going to do this. And that was a real great start. And in that process, I started losing weight, but then my attention shifted to all of the posts that people put up about how hard it was, especially menopausal women, like you can't lose weight. And I started taking that on as my own belief. But as soon as I caught that and I put on the image of who I wanted to be, that the fit, being able to hike with my kids, and I on my walks, I just felt that, and I had a lift in my step, and then it was just easy, and I lost 28 pounds. This was over the summer, and I really do believe that you have a vision, you put your energy into it, you hold yourself in that, and when you get out of it, when you slip out, start reading these other people's posts, when you can get back into that and really feel it, that then it's easy. And that's one of the things that I think uh, having a coach can be really helpful, because to keep staying in that space, you get out of it, and then you're reminded, this is what I'm doing, and staying in that energy.
I find it fascinating that when you were 20 years old, you had an auditory experience
Yeah.
about the purpose of life.
Mhm.
And here you are now, at least 15, 20 years later. Uh, sorry. Didn't mean to laugh, but I couldn't help it. But now you're helping others maybe get a deeper iteration, or maybe the first time
Right.
of
Yeah.
of
Yeah.
their being, their spiritual being.
It's such an honor to be with people,
Yeah.
watching them discover who they are, and it's really moving, of course, when it is totally new, and that flood of emotion of, I'm beloved, really, like, this energy that created the universe thinks I'm precious and has created me to do this life in this way. And it's really touching. I feel like it's kind of like a midwifery in some ways, or uh, just being with someone in that beginning space, that birth.
Yeah. So you're a soul doula.
I'm a soul doula. Yeah, I like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I want to thank you for sharing yourself with us. And there's no time or space. In One of my teachers is a real live physicist. In fact, she's the only one that ever succeeded in doing what Einstein could not. She has a theory, a was it got grand unification theory, one mathematical theory that explains everything. Yeah, like, I mean, she's incredible. And now I forget what I started to say about her. um, so I got lost there. I do ever sometimes. I'm really in a field of experiencing what it must be for women who are doing that. They're going, wow. I'm say it again. Do you have to coach them and say, here's the words, say these again?
Sometimes I have affirmations with things, but a lot of it I think is really just sitting in that presence, taking time to fill yourself with gratitude, with what's around you, and seeing the beauty. And um, yeah, I think that that's a big part of finding yourself, is embracing that quiet, and seeing how it's affecting your world, and testing it. Having a vision, and bringing it to life is really empowering, especially for women, I think, to create something in the physical world that's that you didn't know you could do.
Wonderful. What a way to close with that statement. Yeah. Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you so much for inviting me. I really felt
Oh, I
honored.
think we'll stay connected.
Yeah. Good.
So thank you for coming today. I'm Terry McGill, and who's your neighbor? Next week, I invite you. Well, I don't invite you just to come next week, but I invite you to go to the website, and that's facebook.com. That's right. I don't think that we put this into the, well, it's Master Sha Tao Healing Center Portland, so it's facebook.com, and so you can see it over there in the chat room. Facebook.com with no spaces, Master Sha Tao Healing Center Portland, and then you'll be able to view the previous guests on Who's Your Neighbor, and next week, the new one. So until then, who's your neighbor?